Hey everybody, welcome back. This has been our first live stream here for a little while. So, you were just gonna get you all caught up here. Sorry about the lighting, we're still working on that because I just moved, as I just said. So, yeah. And we got some stuff going on here. You got a little bit, Oh! Who is this? That's right, he's back. I moved a little bit closer to him, so it's gonna be easier to do things every so often. All right. Yeah, I'll set you. I'll set you up on your screen here.
Sounds good. All right, let me take a squat.
Okay.
That was a long walk.
Hopefully
Sorry.
you can.
A little winded.
Yeah. All right. So, what else been going on?
Well, it has been an interesting couple of months. We had those holidays going by and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's been rough.
Yeah, life got really hectic. But I'm back in the saddle again. Yeah, so basically I've been working, taking care of my family, trying to get my ducks in a row for everything.
That's good.
Yeah, being an adult is hard. If you don't know and you haven't realized it yet, being an adult is the hardest thing in the world. You have to care about things that don't matter, but they do at the same time, and you always wonder why people care so much about politics until you realize every single part of it affects adult life.
Yeah, that's always
to
weird.
a certain point.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, and I've said to people before, like my parents and other people when talking, especially with politics, I've been like, I find it annoying when people are like, oh, I don't vote, or I'm not really into politics, and I'm like, I can understand that if you're younger than 18, but once you hit that age, you're kind of you realize this stuff affects every single aspect of your life.
Exactly, and one of the terrible parts is that it's not just our national government stuff. It comes down to state, county, township, all that kind of stuff. Those small governments matter so much. If I lived in a different township than I did now, I would get taxed differently through where I work and everything, and I'd get a different amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And things like having a family and stuff like that all affects your taxes. I mean, that's a little more obvious, but I don't make the same amount that someone else, the exact same age as me makes, specifically for the fact that I have a wife and a baby. Even if we're working the exact same job, doing the exact same thing, we'll both be making different amounts. It'll be about the same when it comes to tax time, but
yeah,
it's weird.
Oh, for sure. I guess speaking of other things, what do you think about the election? I don't think we'd ever talked about that.
I don't think so. I think we missed out on the election there. I think
I may have talked about it in some blogs and stuff, or vlogs or whatever.
I think we have people going absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think for their beliefs, I guess you could say it's rightful, but I think they're going way over the border, way over the line. I don't mean border there. There's a wall, so you can't go over the border.
Yeah, anyway.
Wall yet.
So what do you think about Donald Trump? Are you hopeful?
I will say that I consider myself a Republican.
Okay.
But not because I line up with every single belief. I think I consider myself that because of my reasoning. My reasoning for picking a political party is you just figure out who lines up mostly with a majority of your beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's what you would be considered as. I don't want to be a Republican, but that happens to be who I line up with. And Donald Trump happens to be a Republican. So it turns out that a lot of our beliefs are similar. I haven't looked deeply into official things yet, but a couple of things I saw he's trying to do. It might be true, maybe not. I saw something about gun control. I saw that he's trying to get rid of ridiculous bans and restrictions.
Yeah.
And make certain things that were illegal not illegal, and instead of increasing gun control laws, increasing jail time and stuff like that. I think that's important because now I can see if you were in a demographic where you live in a city in a very highly populated area, guns may not have been as prevalent for you, and the only time they came up is if you see them in violence in movies and TV, or if you hear about them on the news where someone's shooting someone else. But I grew up, and I know we grew up in an area where it's more rural. Sorry about the pronunciation, but
Yeah.
it's an area where guns are a good thing because they bring food to tables. And what like my family growing up, if we would happen to go hunting and be successful, we wouldn't just keep the meat for ourselves. It would be donated to
Yeah.
missions and places where people need food, and they'll take it and give it out there, and we give it to family and friends. So guns were always seen as a way to provide for your family and a way to bond because I always went hunting with my grandpa and father,
Hmm.
and it made it really enjoyable. And I always, every time I shoot a gun, I think of them, and it's more of an interesting thing. And it's a huge hobby for some people, and it's
Yeah.
and a large number of gun crimes are committed by people that don't even own the guns or handling them illegally. Um, so I think putting more restrictions on and whatnot, that's kind of, you're not doing anything there. All you're doing is angering people with guns.
Yeah. Um, Especially with the hunting thing, like I've been getting into that a little more. I'm interested. I want to learn how to hunt and stuff because I think it'd be really fun to just get your own food like that, you know.
Yeah, and
Plus, I
it's
hear they say like wild animals and stuff like that are a little healthier to eat.
yeah,
It's not processed and all this
yeah,
stuff.
and that's actually something I've been looking into more through my time not being here. Um, I've been looking into food and what's happening to our food and whatnot, and the animals we're eating, there are a lot of things being fed to them and they're not supposed to be fed,
Yeah.
stuff like
So
that.
it's not really healthy
Yeah,
at all.
but like here in central Pennsylvania, the deer population is actually to a point where deer are considered pests. One for agricultural reasons because they're eating. They'll cause hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage for apple growers and whatnot. People trying to grow their crops. People who have cornfield and stuff like that. And they're also a large endangerment to people driving on the roads, especially at night and in the winter.
Yeah.
Things are already slick and icy, and it's dark out. And the last thing you want is a 150-pound deer running out and destroying your car when you're going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's for sure. I almost hit a deer last night, 2 nights ago. I think I was coming home from class or something. Or no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I don't remember what was happening. Anyway, yeah, it's dangerous. Um, oh man. So yeah, a lot of stuff's been going on. I mean, obviously I just moved. I still have a couple big things to move left, and yeah,
He's got a
but
pretty nice place, by the way.
it is pretty nice. Maybe we'll
I
do
was
it.
jealous. I walked in and I was like, man, this is
And it's
legit.
pretty cheap. We got it like 600 a month.
Yeah, if you remember the tour of my apartment, it was like with a turn of the phone and you got the full view. This is actually like a house, so
Yeah, it is a real house.
it's good stuff.
Um, But yeah, so moving in here has been pretty interesting. The past week we've been kind of hustling to get moved in, and it's been really hectic.
Yeah,
Especially like having to go to school and I work, and then I was moving, so I was trying to find time to haul stuff back and forth, and it's just
yeah.
it's tiring.
I think for us the worst part about moving was the unpacking process
Yeah.
because you were there. We had like I'd say about 10 people helping us move,
Mhm.
and it was a small apartment. We did it all one day. We had like 4 vehicles packed of our stuff. All of us went and then we took everything out. It took us like an hour to take everything out of the vehicles,
Yeah.
and then everyone left. We ate some pizza, and the unpacking process began after we left. We just started throwing everything around, putting it where it needs to be. We're not even close to unpacked. We just shove everything in a closet.
It's about where I am right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough to get things done when you have a baby because
That's
both
that's
of you are
true.
tired, and one's got to take care of a baby, the other one's got to be productive. So there's no downtime. I actually did take a little mini staycation a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
I just took I work 4 days out of the week. So I had my 3 days off, and then I took 2 more days off for vacation days. So I had 5 days to do nothing, and I didn't do nothing at all. Well, like I was busy all 5 of those days.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of have those times. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. Staycations, blah blah blah.
I have a question for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
With the election going on and everything, and all of it's over, do you think that do you think there is any how do I want to put this? Do you think anybody is in the right to be reacting the way they are
As far as things like the Women's March and
Yeah. Do you like in the past? Like obviously, if you vote against Donald Trump, you're not going to want him to win.
yeah,
And with the popularity vote kind of swaying a little more towards Hillary's side,
hmm
you can people may feel that they're justified to be angry, but do you think they are justified in being as angry as they are?
Well, I mean, we could always just put the shoe on the other foot. For example, when Republicans lost back in what was 2008, was the last big lose. Like I don't, you didn't hear really about any riots or anything on the news or
Yeah,
anything as crazy as what's going on this year. And I think one of the bigger things that's come to play into that factor with a lot of stuff is I think we've come to like worship our president
yeah,
in a sense. And I know that's kind of weird, but I was online, and I've probably told this story before, but I was scrolling through, and I noticed somebody said, like, oh, you people in America are weird. You just elected this Donald Trump as your, and they used the word, I think it was, ruler or something like that. And I was like, wait a minute. He's not our ruler. He works for us.
but people
But
act
people are
like
starting to picture him as, like, their father or, like,
yeah.
the king.
It's almost like that situation where like America as a whole is your mom, and then
Yeah.
she's on the dating scene, and then she's like, I want to date Donald Trump, and everyone's like, well, he's not my stepdaddy.
Yeah. That's
It's like not my president. But
But
the thing is he is
yeah,
like I'll say this as someone who is I'm not particular to Donald Trump. I don't think as a person he's a good person.
yeah,
And I don't like those aspects about him. But like I said, his ideals line up a lot more with my ideals than I did with Hillary or most Democrats.
hmm
So that's why if I had to pick one, I would have picked him. And that's why I was glad the election turned out the way it did. Now, am I going to be happy with everything he does? No.
probably not.
Am I happy with everything he's promised? No. And there are a lot of things that I can see I'm going to disagree with him on. Like I said, I disagree with him as a person. I don't exactly respect him,
Yeah,
but I will respect the fact that he is my president and that I live in the United States and he is the president of the United States.
yeah. And it comes down to a lot of things, like even the fact that the president really doesn't, or he shouldn't, I guess I should say, have a whole lot of power.
Mhm.
And I think we've kind of started to lend him more power and be like, oh, because we've seen him as like a king to us, and now
Yeah.
we're kind of giving him the power of a king. And I think that's really dangerous. And we need to get the idea out of people's heads that you have to be like passionate for this guy, and it's not, it needs to go on further than like you shouldn't be trusting and putting all your hope in an individual.
Yeah.
You need to put your in principles and beliefs and vote for what lines up with your beliefs, not for a person, because that's when you start worshiping people and letting their faults slip through the cracks, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's Donald Trump, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
But no, you need to catch him when he's wrong and be like, hey man,
Yeah.
we're doing something stupid here.
I think some like a glimmer of hope for people, and it's something that's kind of slipping through others' minds. There are people who think he's just out to completely control the country, and all Republicans think everything has to be like in order, like everyone thinks it's going to be like the Nazi regime. The thing to remember is, like I said, one of the things that I've heard he's trying to work on is gun control policies. He's trying to loosen them up and make it so. And he has been quoted to say, like, the Second Amendment is one of the most important amendments, and we need to make sure it's protected,
Yeah,
and that is not infringed upon. So he has been quoted in saying that he thinks we need to have our guns, and the reason the Second Amendment was brought upon is to keep. What the butthole?
we just went off.
Oh, this is laughing.
What the heck? Well, this is weird.
I don't even know what's going on. Oh, it says we're going again.
Well, yeah.
Is
Are
it?
we still live? Somebody give us a comment. Tell us if we're still live.
There's one person watching. Please save us.
I guess it does say we're live, but it says the stream health is bad, which is weird.
I don't know.
We haven't dropped any frames. Anyway, alright.
Anyway, Koozle. Excuse me. But yeah, so just remember, he does support us protecting ourselves, and I think the reason for the Second Amendment was to protect the First Amendment. So you still have your right to freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't abuse it, and hurt other people, because it seems like a lot of the times people um, they fight so much for their rights that they start to infringe upon other people's.
Yeah, I think okay. Let's. I got a bit of an idea in my head. What you think? Do you think that kind of? I think that people tend to vote for less freedom in a sense. Does that make sense to you? Like,
Yeah.
because what I've realized, like, people kind of, often in democracies, I think people will tend to vote for stuff that gives them stuff that will kind of help them out in the here and the now and not in the future. So I think they tend to vote a lot of their rights away, and I think that's a problem with democracies, where I think America tend to have gotten it right. Because and you hear people say all the time, like, "Oh, America's a democracy" and stuff, which it kind of is locally.
It's a republic.
Locally, but it is a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
Which is very, very important. And I think a lot comes down to the entire, even the like electoral college system, because at the same time we're not really a democracy.
Yeah, and
it's because of this reason that people will vote away their freedoms. Like, who cares if you have voting rights if you have human rights?
Yeah.
Almost to a sense, like, you know. So, I mean, like, and we do have voting rights. We get to express our opinion, but sometimes the system kicks back and is like, hey, you know, you're, like, putting yourselves in a position where the government's going to rule over you instead of you ruling over the government. And so they're like, let's push back a little bit on the people. And I think that's good. And sounds kind of bad in a sense, because people are like, it's weird, because if you have the freedom to vote, you can have the freedom to vote your freedom to vote away.
Yeah.
And it's very confusing.
Yeah, I have 2 points on that. The quick one is going to be with the Electoral College. We have to remember that the reason that was instituted is because, like I said earlier, if you grew up in a city or in a certain environment like that, the large population of people are going to be in the large cities like New York and like Los Angeles and places like that, and they're going to have a lot different lifestyle than people like us who are out in kind of like the middle of nowhere. We live in a place where if I went into the city, it would take a lot for me to adjust to the lifestyle there.
Oh,
and
for sure.
Same as people from the city coming into my lifestyle. Things are a lot different, and if we just popular vote, then people in the large city demographics will get whatever they want, basically, and then people out in the middle of nowhere are kind of screwed. But you got to remember, the people out in the middle of nowhere, those are the people who they control our food supply because they're farmers, and they control a lot of other things too, because that's an important thing to make sure that they have their voices heard too, because so much of our country is run by the people who aren't in the large cities. It's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
they're an important part. But along with what you were saying about voting our freedom away, I think we have to remember that we have independence in the United States of America, and what it seems like a lot of people are trying to do is get rid of our independence, because they're trying to get the government to do things for us, and they're trying to be dependent on the government. If the government is supplying us with our health insurance, and they're regulating other things like that for us, that means that they're controlling it and we are not. We have to make sure we're independent human beings, and we're not like, you know what, you just take care of everything for us. We need to learn to be independent and do things for ourselves and stuff like that, because if not, then American citizens are nothing but a bunch of children, and the government is like our parents, and we're under their house and we're going by their rules.
Yeah.
When in reality, if we start doing things on our own, we won't have to rely on the government as much. It's the same thing. It's kind of looking this way. Whenever you're a child and you're living at your parents' house, if they're giving you an allowance, they can say what you can and cannot spend that money on, because it's their money in total. But if you go out and get your own job, technically that should be your money to spend. That's how it was in my family. If my parents gave me money, it was their choice what I did with that money.
Yeah.
But if I had my own job, I used the money for what I wanted to use it for. And if I would, and they did help me out in getting a car. But once I got that car, I had to purchase gas for it. If I couldn't buy gas, I couldn't use my car. and that's the same thing with the United States. We need to work hard to earn the things we need,
Mm-hmm.
and it is kind of terrible that we have to rely on larger corporations and other businesses to get the things that we need in life. But that's just how the world goes around, and that's the way. That's a real life scenario. No matter where you are and what you're doing, you're going to have to purchase goods and services from businesses, and when they're successful, they're going to be bigger and bigger and be able to
Yeah.
sway things the way they want. So no matter what, you're going to have that situation.
I think there's a fair argument to be said towards keeping things in this country a little more locally and community minded, in a sense, to the point where I think it'd be healthier for the country if, like, we supported the growth of small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of regulations on business affect both large corporations and small businesses, which is a very bad thing because now people like you and me who want to start a small business, it's very hard to do that.
Exactly.
And so now we have to go rely on a big corporation to provide us with a job who can afford legal fines and stuff. And I think even beyond that, like even we need to pull our government away from the federal government and pull it back to local. And like a lot of these things, if we pull everything back to local, be more community minded, then we can reel things back a little bit. We can be a little more comfortable. Common people can own businesses again without having to go through a bunch of paperwork and worry about payloads, like a ton of taxes.
You have to pay a lot to make money. You
do.
You have to have money to make money. That's
and the problem with a lot of these like regulations that are affecting businesses is the fact that like if you impose a regulation, be like, oh, this corporation's getting away with too much of this or that, and you're just like, oh, let's implement this, and all of a sudden the corporation is just like, whatever, I'll just pay that off.
Exactly.
Like it's just a tiny little fine, I'll just pay it off. But the small businesses who can't afford that, who are hiring people locally, are getting punished for the corporation's stuff. And I mean, it almost sounds like Bernie Sanders to a point where you're like, oh, the big corporations, the big bank, we're gonna break down the bank. That was almost like Richard Nixon kind of.
Richard Nixon. But yeah, no, I completely agree, and I completely agree with the community government becoming bigger because, like I said, that goes back to the demographics. Worrying about the demographics.
I mean, not even in getting bigger, but just in putting more focus on it as a source of things.
Yeah, because if you have one type of government ruling over the entire nation, they're gonna try to do what the majority of the people want. When in reality, what you need a lot of localized, specialized governments putting more focus into them, giving their people what they need. Because like if you pass a law, can't think of one off the top of my head. Like for example, there's in Pennsylvania there's laws about emissions. In larger cities, your car has to pass an emissions test because if it's putting too much pollution into the air, that creates smog, and that's really bad for an environment and for us to live in.
Yeah.
But in more rural counties, emissions tests aren't important, and they're not something that they do because there are people who have larger vehicles like large trucks and tractors and stuff like that, where they're going like you can't get any of those that don't let out very many emissions, just because of the nature of the way they're built. And then if you could find a truck like a big dually truck that doesn't put out a ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, like that'd be great. But I also can guarantee you it's going to be extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So if you make everyone do an emissions test, then these farmers and local people are going to kind of get screwed over because they can't use the equipment they need to. But that's just one example. You can't put one rule over everybody. You need everyone to have their own little thing.
Yeah.
It's.
What do you think about an interesting topic about farmers and stuff? What do you think about like government subsidization of farming? Because I've been against it because I don't like any form of government subsidization for the most part.
Like how they're paying people
They're paying people to farm. They're giving farmers money so they can make food. Like, I understand it keeps our food prices cheaper, but then again, we're paying that money in taxes.
Yeah.
So we'd have more money to spend, but food would go up. So I think it's a weird little balance, and
I think it needs to be extremely balanced. I think I see in small doses it would be a good idea that way, because farming is a very hard thing to do, and whenever you have an unsuccessful year, that could ruin your livelihood. I think it's good to have that kind of backup there. But what I don't agree with is whenever governments pay people to not farm, because I've heard stories where they're being like, hey, like don't produce as many crops because if there are so many crops, that's going to like the economy is going to be different because of supply and demand.
Yeah.
You know, if the
So
world
they're just paying them to live, basically, and
it's paying like,
and
hey,
they're like,
we'll pay you to not grow as many crops right now. Which that I mean, it's one way of regulation that helps a little bit, but also
but you're kind of spending
yeah, you're
money
spending
for
my
people
money
to do
for me
nothing.
to not eat.
Yeah, and that's a little weird. Yeah, yeah, the entire thing's a little bit sketchy in a sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man,
yeah.
So
Got really quiet downstairs. I don't know.
It did. Maybe everyone died. I don't know. They're coming for us.
Wonder if they went to go to GameStop. I kind of wanted to go do that, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
well, I think I am all talked out, but I am glad to be back.
True. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can do this a little more. When will you be free more? Like.
I'm not sure. I have my weekends available at the moment, but
Okay.
things change, so we'll see what we got.
All right. Well, maybe we can do this again next Saturday if whenever's best. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for watching. I had taken a break from my channel, obviously, while I moved. So I will start uploading videos here sooner or later, hopefully next week. I gotta get my whole computer set up. I'm just running off my laptop right now. So that's, yeah, none of my gaming stuff is really hooked up yet. Bigger reason is because we have cats and they like to chew on wires. So I'm trying to, we got some wire coverings and stuff we gotta get set up. And they're coming next week. So, come back and check out that crap. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Please subscribe if you will. Go ahead and like the video. Thumbs down if you like or didn't like it. Thumbs up if you did like it. Go ahead and leave a comment while you're at it, because we like to hear from you and go ahead and tweet us because we're somewhat active. I actually haven't been on Twitter in a while. I did just pull it up for this specific reason. And I got nothing. So, thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing.
We did have one person watching this thing pretty
thank you,
fairly consistently. No clue who it is, but thank you. All right. Well, we'll see you again around here soon. So yeah.
Yeah, guys. Have a good one.
Goodbye.